What is up, everybody? Okay, only slightly scuffed that. There we go. There we go. We're here today. It's Andrew Esquire, Legal Mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. We're live, baby. I know it's a late night over there in Saturday. It's obviously Sunday morning here for me in Bangkok in Asia. But I hope wherever you guys are, whether you're in America, whether you're in Asia, Europe, Australia, Oz, it's good to see you here. It's good to be here and hang out with you guys today. We're going to talk about destiny, potentially intimidating a witness or courting a whole host of other crimes, including felonies, including potential sanctions. We're going to get into all the possible fallout from this that can happen based on this encounter with Lauren De Laguna in Texas. In case you've been living under a rock and you haven't watched any of my other coverage, Destiny is engaged in a lawsuit for revenge prawn, and I guess I have to say that for the YouTube censorship. I love prawns in my tom yum soup, but not the type of prawn that he's alleged with. It's a serious situation there in his case, and he's got a lot of problems as is in that case. That case does not need to get worse for him. And in my perspective, the overall assessment here, and I'm going to tease a little bit of the conclusion to start with here, is that even if nothing was to happen in terms of him getting charged with a crime, there are consequences for this, and it does not look good. There's a whole host of things that can happen, from presumptions in court, from monetary sanctions, from assumptions about his behavior. There's a lot of things, and this did not need to happen at all whatsoever. But indeed, here we are today. We're also going to address and dismiss a lot of what I've seen, the coping and seething from the DGG and the Destiny simps out there, the people that want to make this into something that is downplayed. We're going to talk about that. We're going to get into that because this is not something to be messed around with at all whatsoever. Once you're in a court case, once you actually have an active court case that you're litigating with somebody, you want to stay away from not just the other party, but anybody involved in that, including the witnesses, especially the witnesses. Now, some other countries don't have as strong protections for witness protection, but in America, particularly you're looking at federal courts, or even if you're looking at Florida courts or Texas, whatever, they're going to take that very seriously. They're not going to mess around with you going after witnesses or even sometimes potential witnesses. I know there's a lot of people arguing, well, she hasn't been called yet or whatever. She hasn't been deposed yet. She's already been subpoenaed. So she's a witness in the case. We're going to get into it with you guys today. Guys, I'm glad to be here. First of all, Doug Diaz, thank you for those 10 Legal Mindset memberships. Appreciate all you guys supporting me. Helps me do more cool stuff for the channel. So thank you for that, Doug. Yes. Lag there. Fantastic. Mr. Knox, thank you for the Aussie 5. Wait, Destiny is stalking? Isn't stalking a witness a big deal? Yeah, it's a big deal. Then he says he's bored, hence why he's out where he is. The guy needs to be in jail. The thing is, being bored is no excuse for going out and doing things like this. And the big part that is going to come out here is, even if this was a chance encounter on the street, which I am pressing massive X to doubt on, the way in which Destiny conducted it, the things he said as part of it, were completely unnecessary. And they are going to provoke law enforcement into investigating this. Law enforcement will be investigating this. Definitely Texas law enforcement, and very likely the feds, the DOJ. This is something that he shouldn't have messed around with, because now he's got people that are going to be looking into him. And once again, at a minimum, you don't want more investigation into you when you've probably already got investigation into you for the materials on his computer. Remember, we've talked about what happened with Rose and what happened with, disclosing, with her age and the fact that she was likely a minor at that time based on what we have. That's bad enough for Destiny, for little Stevie, Tiny. It's bad enough for him. But you know what? It's just gotten worse. And this did not need to happen. It did not need to be put out there. Alexis Artemis Green Howard, member for 5 months. Thank you so much. Elpire Ava, our California attorney, says, don't you know, Legal Mindset, she approached him. The excuses in COPE have been downright engagingly bad. They're hilarious. Thank you for setting the record straight. Yeah, and once again, even if we presume that's true, let's presume that they're both walking down the street and the one who approached the other was Lauren. Let's say Lauren was the one that walked up. The way in which he conducted this was not good. the way in which he conducted himself and the things he said and the things he provoked her into saying and got her into saying based on what he said, it's not good. The judge is not going to look at this and be like, this is perfectly fine. No, the judge at a minimum is going to reprimand him. And this is something you don't need in your lawsuit. But of course, we're going to get into that on my PP, right? Because of course, we've got a PP here today. So let's whip out the PP. That is, of course, for those that are new to the channel, the PowerPoint. We keep it very kosher on the channel. So Destiny intimidating a witness, question mark. Of course, once again, everything has to be proven in a court of law. I'm not the court of law, right? Although I wish I was the judge in this case. That'd be fun. I wouldn't be able to speak about it on the internet, but it would be fun. But there is potential witness intimidation here. This is what I'm going to go through today. All the potential crimes, all the potential problems. That's not saying he's going to get punished for all of them. He probably won't get punished for all of them, but there's a lot he could be. And there's some that are very easy thresholds to meet in terms of what could go down with Destiny. So let's talk about this. So obviously we have the parties here. Let's talk about them. We have obviously Tiny here, Mr. Stephen Bennell, aka Destiny, and his Attack on Titan form here. I like this one the most, so I'm always going to show it. I know that I may get in trouble for the nipples, but it's worth showing. And the second party here is Lauren De Laguna. Now she's actually an attorney. And she formerly had a relationship with Destiny. But beyond that, she is a subpoenaed witness. And this is actually her law firm here, Hayden Law, PLLC. Now, they're registered out of Florida because she's a Florida attorney, but she practices remotely. And as many of you know, and I can tell you based on the fact that I've practiced remotely for years now, whether I practiced remotely back when I was living in the United States and I'd be traveling around the US, or whether I was practicing remotely when I wasn't necessarily where my office was. I might have been in Miami, my office in Orlando, or been somewhere else and practicing. You can still practice as an attorney remotely. And many attorneys do this. In fact, nowadays, it's much more common than you think. A lot of attorneys, like myself and others, especially if your work is transactional, you're dealing with clients that are somewhere else and they don't need you to physically be there. If you're just reviewing a contract, you can do that from anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter if you're in Mogadishu or Montreal. If it's a contract, you know the law, you can review it. You can do that from anywhere. If you're reviewing, something about IP or patents or whatever else, a lot of the practice of law can be done remotely. It does not need to physically require you in the office. Yeah, I love this one. So today, all the locations came out. So Casparius Ghost says for 5, you've been exposed. Your Twitter says you're based in Thailand. You've been phoning. Yan. Yes, I'm in the country that I say I'm from, with Mudang over here, the representative of Thailand, hanging out behind me with the cowboy hat. Yes, I am truly in Asia. I'm not one of these fake accounts in India or Europe saying they live in Japan, which has been one of the most hilarious things about today, is all the people that are pretending to be in Japan and they're not really there, or the people that are pretending to be in America and they're really in somewhere else, Southeast Asia, India, somewhere else. Very, very, very hilarious. And if you haven't checked that out on Twitter, I would recommend you go over today and just see how many accounts are not in the places where they are primarily publishing the content of. It's actually hilarious. Eltbuyer Ava for 2 says, wait, Destiny tried to intimidate an attorney witness? Yeah, she's an attorney. She's not being called as a witness in the scope of her practice of the law. She's been called as a witness in scope of her relationship to the case and the parties involved, because she has gotten involved with this on the Pixie side, so she's being subpoenaed on that side by Destiny's lawyers. That's very, very important here. So here's the interaction. This was between Lauren and Destiny in Austin, Texas, November 2025. So I'm gonna play the video for you. The fast facts, I'll probably either clip it in or we'll see. Now, I think this one is kosher enough to play, but this just happened recently. So mind you, that's the case. By the way, thank you, Redbeard, for 5. He says, Legal Mindset, your hairline is better than Mudang's. No, her hairline is very nice as well. Mudang's hairline is very nice as well. It's smooth. It's for performance. It's for performance. Rias Gregory is a new member. Thank you. Welcome as that as well. Okay, so let's get into this clip here. I have this posted on my X. I think it's got 1.4 million views, which is pretty nice. Let's share this here. If you guys want to use that video, you can go over to my X and check that out as well. So here's the encounter. Okay, so let's play this out for you.
This is my best friend, Lauren De Laguna. How you doing?
You came to Texas to bother me.
I literally am gang stalking her right now.
So he says, so she's saying you came to Texas to stalk me. He says, I'm gang stalking you right now. Okay. I mean, I know he's going to say he's being sarcastic, but you don't want to say you're gang stalking somebody. Let's play that back again.
I literally am gang stalking her right now. I am gang stalking this wonderful lady.
I work here.
You work here?
I work here.
Do you have anything you would like to say to the audience?
Yeah, you're free. You're fucking weird.
Okay, cool. Anything else?
Yeah,
Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for stalking me. You're a one-man, this is a one-man gang stalker army right now, okay? So thanks for hanging out.
And you just keep making as to why I need to be deposed.
Do I really? Are we recording each other now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. How are you doing? How's life in Texas?
I'm gonna go to my mom.
Okay, be careful. Say bye. I'll see you around.
Why? Why are you following me?
Because I'm bored and I gang stalk in real life.
You're fucking free. You're a pedophile.
Yeah?
Fabulous.
Pedophile too?
You
Yeah?
are a pedophile.
True.
I mean, Rose.
True. Queen. Stay safe. Be careful.
So there's the encounter there. Once again, near her place of work in Texas, right? So that's a very, very important factor here. So let's get into some of the facts here. Okay, so here's the background here. So Lauren De Laguna is a subpoenaed witness. So she's been subpoenaed in Destiny's existing revenge prawn case. And I believe she was subpoenaed by Destiny's lawyers himself. So Destiny is very aware that she is a subpoenaed witness. And you do not treat once somebody is a witness, and this is all the DGG needs to pay attention to this. All the defenses that act like this is just two random people on the street, once you are a witness, you have a witness and you are the party to the lawsuit. So Destiny is the party, right? You have a other obligation to not harass, coerce, intimidate that person. And that is a high bar in America. That is not just a random person. And yes, this is a person that he knew before. Yes, he had interpersonal relationship with her, right? But that doesn't mean you can go back and talk to this person in a way that might be leading to their intimidation. And based on the fact that, remember, it's not just Destiny. He's broadcasting this to his community of followers. And understand, there is precedent for this. You have a giant community of followers. You have a responsibility to understand that any one of those unhinged followers can take this as a call to come to Texas, to stalk her, to try to find her, to try to harass her at her workplace. That's not cool. That's not okay, right? And that's beyond just what Destiny does. So that could be an attempt to silence her, to change her deposition, to try to intimidate her deposition, to try to get her to not say certain stuff. That's not good. Not good. Once again, Destiny doesn't live in Texas. He lives in Florida. Lauren is the one who lives in Texas. And the encounter took place near her workplace. Very relevant. And this is the most damning thing for me. And this is the thing that got me to cover this, right? This is something that has gotten me to cover this, is that Lauren filed a police report. If she didn't file a police report, I wouldn't have made this video, because then the law enforcement wouldn't be likely to take this up. The law enforcement wouldn't be likely to look at this. People wouldn't be likely to investigate this, but she filed a police report. And we all know, if you've been paying attention to the channel, that if you file a police report and you lie, right? If you file a police report and you lie, then you can be prosecuted. Right? That's something that absolutely 100% can, will, and does happen. If you don't believe that, talk to Juicy Smooth. Talk to Jussie Smollett. Right? Talk to Juicy. He knows all about that, filing a fake police report. If you don't remember, he said that a bunch of MAGA people beat him up outside of a subway in the middle of the night in Chicago, downtown Chicago, right? And he lied. And he filed false reports, and he straight up lied about it. By the way, there was another incident recently with a woman, you can look this up, who hired a fetish artist to slash her up and cut her up. And she had some, what was supposedly some, Trump stuff on her body, calling her, bad words and putting the word Trump on her body. And that was found to be a false incident. That was found to be a false report. So once again, these people who are going out there in deranged, this is MAGA country with Jesse Smoot. That's what he did, right? These people yelled, "This is MAGA country," and beat him up allegedly. That didn't happen. That was a lie, right? There's consequences to that. So because she filed this police report, I'm taking this more seriously because now there's consequences. And here's why this shifts the burden against Destiny. If Lauren really approached him and really was harassing him, then he can file a police report. But as far as I know, Destiny has not filed a police report against Lauren, right? Because there'd be consequences for that, right? There'd be consequences for that. So if Destiny wants to put up and shut up, then saying, hey, I'm going to file a police report against Lauren because she was the one stalking me. And here's my proof, and here's what I'm going to say. Here's my side of the story, right? Destiny probably does think he continue to, the chat says right there, he probably thinks he continue to be his own lawyer. He can do his own thing. He can do what he wants. That's not the case here. You got to be more careful. You cannot act so recklessly. So let's talk about the federal crimes because there's federal crimes, state crimes, and civil crimes. Once again, I'm not saying all of these are really, any specific one is going to be picked, but these are all the potential. Let's put a little asterisk on that. Potential consequences. And why would you risk all of these potential consequences for what? To try to intimidate her, to try to scare her, for clout, for views? Is that really worth it? Is it worth it to put that risk out there? No, right? Not at all. Not at all. So let's get out here and let's talk about this. So federal crimes, 18 USC section 1512, right? You've got intimidation or corrupt persuasion. So that's knowingly intimidating, right? Threatening or persuading witnesses or attempting to influence testimony. That's up to an unlimited fine and 20 years in prison. 20 years in prison, right? Knowingly intimidating, threatening, or persuading. Now, here's the part that I think for knowing, for the knowledge section that goes into it is that he knew that she lives there, right? He knew she's in Texas. And having the knowledge that Lauren De Laguna is in Texas and going there, right? That's adding fuel to the fire, right? That's definitely adding fuel to the fire. Then you've got here corrupt tampering with evidence. And so where this goes with is to the extent that the deposition or testimony is going to be entered into evidence or attempting to make her change her testimony or change what she might be deposed under, altering, destroying, concealing evidence or preventing its production. She might withhold information based on this, up to a fine, 20 years in prison. And let's go lower than that. So those are the two felonies, and that's risking serious felonies. But you can even have a misdemeanor. Harassment, willful harassing a witness without intent. So even if he didn't intend this, there's a potential crime. So even if under 18 USC section 1512, even if he was saying, oh, it's unintentional, it doesn't matter. You engaged in this for far longer than you needed to. You could have removed yourself from that situation. You could have walked on by. You could have just kept going, but you stayed there. That was a witness. It's a misdemeanor. It's a fine up to 1 year. Misdemeanor. That's federal law. So once again, this is because the trial is in Florida. This is under federal law. And the law doesn't mess around when it comes to witnesses. But let's talk about Texas. Texas, not exactly a soft on crime state. But let's get some of these super chats first. Alexis Artemis Greenhoward said, respect Mudang. That's right. Definitely respect Mudang. Gotta respect Mudang. Or else you're going to get a strong objection. Ketchup Raven. Member for 13 months. Is glad to see Fantastic Sir Andrew in legal time. That's right. DP Chief 216 says Steve thinks he's smarter than he actually is. Fantastic Mr. Knox says for 5, Aussie says it's a good thing he's an idiot for filming, and if he deletes it, people can easily archive it so Lauren can prove she's being stalked. Well, it's on the internet now, so it's up there. And the court can order him to delete it. That is very, very possible. We'll see if that happens. That's very, very possible that can happen. But we'll see. Will the judge punish him harder for this now? So what they can do is in the civil case, they can make his life a living hell. And the judge has large discretion. Even if the crimes aren't proven, the judge can say, hey, we are going to say you shouldn't have done this, so we're going to have some presumptions against you. We're going to use this as proof of bad intent, proof of a pattern of behavior. We're going to strike your counterclaims. All these things are possible. Now, striking counterclaims is pretty extreme. It's usually not a first step, but it's possible. It's very possible. W. Chan, 1644 is a new member. Welcome. Ja Mayhem, member for 9 months, says, what level of interaction will make this intimidation? That's up for the jury and a judge to determine. I think to the point this would be considered intimidating, harassing, or coercing, something could come up. So let's go back here to the statute, right? Let's go back here to the statute. This is an excellent question. So I think harassing is very broad behavior. I think what he did there can definitely constitute harassing, for sure. Is it trying to conceal evidence? That's up for a jury to say. What was he trying to do? What was his intention there? If we got his messages, or he's talking to somebody in the DGG and he's saying, hey, we're going to go do this to mess with her, we're going to do this to intimidate her, that would be something more serious up here, right? But that's why the law has several different categories, because this may not fall under number 1, might be under number 2, might be under number 3. We don't know, but it's very possible. It's very, very possible. Kay's Wolf says, really, Destiny? So he started this with a shovel, then a backhoe, then an excavator. How's he up to those huge strip mining excavators, and how he's digging himself? I think he just thinks he can lawyer himself. And frankly, I do think he just doesn't care at a certain point, because based on the inside evidence, and some people, by the way, I saw some people in the chat saying, well, he's won his motions so far. First of all, the two things that he quote unquote won, one of them wasn't even really a win for him. It was a win for Kiwi Farms, which Kiwi Farms pretty much got a ruling that said they're not involved and don't have to do anything. That was really a win for Kiwi Farms. The other one was resulting to taking stuff down with Pixie. And to be honest, procedurally, that one was kind of a loser to begin with, right? That's not related to this behavior, and it's not related to Rose either, right? Because the stuff with Rose is still percolating. That stuff with Rose is going to come out eventually and be a big problem for him. And it could be a problem in a separate criminal case against himself from either the federal or the state government. Right? That stuff is cooking. It's cooking in the oven. You got to give the law time. There's the consequences don't always come immediately, but they do come. Oh, they do come. Right? Okay. Let's talk about the state crimes. So we got tampering with a witness. That's under section 3605 of the Texas Code, which is coercing or intimidating a witness or prospective witness. And that's the key here, guys. There were some people arguing that are 39 IQ. I mean, I think we got to pull out they've got the IQ of a simian, and that's actually insulting to the simian, right? Or the Bush baby in that case, because it's Pecora. But these low IQ people were saying, well, she doesn't technically fit the definition of witness. No, she's been subpoenaed, right? The protections are going to apply, and they apply for prospective witnesses too. Even though she hasn't been deposed yet, she has been subpoenaed. She's known to be a witness. Sorry, guys, that cope in C is not going to work. So you guys can see, because that cope isn't going to work in the interpretation of witnesses, right? Hamster says, why is it that locals and live streamers seem to be able to get away with anything legally? I Ricada, Destiny, JF. Well, once again, every case is different. And I think there's a lot of consequences. If you're seeing like Doherty, and if you're seeing, like, for example, Vitali, Somali, there's consequences, guys. But does everybody get hit with every consequence? No. So I am giving you the list of the full possibilities. Does that mean all of them are going to come true? No. And I never say that, and I never promise that. Once again, it's up to a judge or jury. But why would you risk the scope of this? Why would you risk all of this? For what? What does Destiny gain off of this? Is Destiny going to get a bunch of views off of harassing Lauren De Laguna? Is that going to get him a bunch of simps? Is that going to get him a bunch of views? Not really. That's not going to benefit him in a huge way. That's not a banger episode for him. Look how I harassed Lauren De Laguna, right? That's not a win. And so why do you take all these risks when the return is low? It's just stupid. It's just stupid. By the way, in the poll, will Destiny stop digging himself deeper? 87% say no, and 13% say yes. So I guess we have 13% of the DGG in the chat, and then 87% say no. But no, I mean, I think he might stop at some point, But I think he's not done. I don't think he's seen enough consequences. Okay, let's continue here. So we have obviously coercing, harassing, and intimidating a witness under tampering with a witness under Section 36. That is potentially a felony, up to 2 to 10 years and up to a 10K fine if you have intent to influence. Now, once again, intent to influence, that's going to be harder to prove. So that one will be harder in Texas. But what's easier is harassment. This is much easier. Why? Well, under Section 4207 of the Texas Code, it says communicating in a manner, and the key word here is communicating, in a manner intended to harass, annoy, or alarm. Publishing a video to your thousands of unhinged supporters is going to absolutely be something that can be harassing, annoying, or alarming. I talked about this with Hassan, right? And with some of Hassan's behavior that can fit the definition of harassment, right? Going out and publishing something to a community which, and I've seen evidence of this, has animus towards De Laguna, does not like her. And certainly there are some people, probably people in Texas, that be willing, now that they know where she works, to go out there and harass her and to engage in that. And I hope, for Destiny's sake, that nobody goes out and actually does something, because then he would very likely be on the line for that. Dark Canon for 989 says, hey, Legal Mindset, glad I caught stream. It seems Destiny forgot the golden rule whenever you're in legal trouble. Shut up! That's right. Shut up. Whenever you want to talk, your lawyer should pop out a bush with objection. Because, to be clear, you've got to shut up and just leave things alone. Anybody involved in that case, you have to leave them alone. The other parties, the witnesses, the experts, leave everybody alone. Just do your coverage. I mean, he can make fun of Hassan all day. That's content, right? He can go and, potentially defame Hassan, right? Regarding what happened with Artemis in Berlin, right? Making a very aggressive statement there. That's another thing. I mean, that might be a suit. We'll see what happens. I mean, Hassan may just not want to pursue that because, well, once again, that would open Hassan up for a lot of truth seeking. And there's a lot of stuff that I think Hassan doesn't want to come out. But he can go and make fun of people on the internet, and that's fine. That's content. That's what it is. But dealing with people that are in your case is dumb. It's dumb. What about the civil consequences? So there's sanctions, and penalties, which I'm going to get into on a separate slide. And then there's an introduction of evidence of pattern of intent, or a pattern of behavior or intent, bad intent. And also this opens up Lauren, if she really felt stressed out about this, especially if other people continue to harass her, for intentional infliction of emotional distress or invasion of privacy. Now, you guys know, we just talked about it with little old Miss Kiff, little old Mizzy, right? Who also, once again, Destiny and Mizzy have these narcissistic tendencies, which tend to come out like the love bombing and the gaslighting and the coming on positive in the beginning and then becoming your worst enemy. They've got a lot of these negative traits, but a lot of this goes towards IIED, intentional infliction of emotional stress, which, once again, if Lauren feels like that's bad enough, she might be able to bring that claim. Before we get into the sanctions, let's talk about some of these super chats. Bad News Badger says, super chat for the baby shark. Baby shark. Thank you for that, Bad News Badger. Appreciate that. We still haven't done the karaoke night. We haven't evolved into our final form of karaoke night. But I do appreciate everybody. Appreciate for supporting me in the goal here late night. Please like the video. We only have 233 likes, and we have 1,000 people watching. So let's get those numbers up. FF Fan Steve says, member for 9 months. I have no objection. That's right. Objection. Poor man says, with your property getting, do you imagine that one day you'll be caught up in a streamer lawsuit? It's possible. If I do, I do. If I don't, I don't. I am going to be doing a lot of, I will be doing some civil lawsuiting of my own soon, but against profitable entities with money, right? That's one of the big things you have to look at. And as a corporate attorney, I know this, you have to look at who's got the deep pockets. And the real deep pockets are not individual people, even streamers. They're corporations. Corporations have mad money and they will pay out, right? They have massive amounts of money. Corporations and industries, right? That's the real money scale, not just petty little streamer drama. That's not really worth it. And most streamers out there aren't really worth going after financially. Casperius Ghost says the witness should sue Destiny for billions since Alex Jones lawsuit is a precedent now. Once again, there's a lot of precedent that it works against Destiny, and he's already got a lot of problems. I Yankee 3655 says Destiny will stop digging when the state takes away his shovel and he puts him in a prison cell. he's pushing it. And once again, with these streamers, they keep pushing the line and they're eventually going to get hit with it. If you keep doing this stuff, eventually something is going to come down and it's not going to be good. One case, Wolf says, like the streamer, gets slapped with an emotional cabbage.
Emotional cabbage.
I think 2 or 3 more weeks for the plushie sample. So we're working on it. I'm hoping before Christmas we can get plushies before Christmas. That would be a great Christmas gift. But let's continue here. The sanctions. Oh, I love sanctions, right? So the federal court has broad authority under Federal Rule of Civil Procedure for frivolous conduct. That's FRCP 11. Also FRCP 37 for discovery abuses, and just the court's inherent power to sanction parties for misconduct. All of these give the ability to do the following things. The first is monetary penalties. So these are fees payable to the court or payable to De Laguna. So essentially they could say, hey, you owe us some money for this bad behavior. And once again, the court doesn't need to prove a crime for this. The court can just do this as the court, saying, I, the judge, feel this violated the requirements of the court, and therefore, boom, you're done, right? So even if the DOJ and Texas ultimately don't bring anything, even if they say, oh, this is a wash, you've risked the ire of the court, the wrath of the judge, and you don't want to do that. The next is adverse inferences. So the judge can literally give a jury instruction to assume that Destiny has bad intentions. So saying that, hey, he has a pattern of bad behavior, and instruct the jury in Pixie's case to assume that. Imagine how damaging that would be for Pixie's case. And by the way, I'm going to say this too, and I'm going to be honest because I'm very honest about my assessment of the case. Pixie's lawyers have not been the best. They kind of threw some spaghetti at the wall with that motion, and I know a lot of them are doing it pro bono or for a discount, whatever, right? Her attorneys have been kind of weak so far. That's very, very fair. But even weak attorneys, when enough evidence is supplied to them, there's enough factors, can end up turning out stuff and end up turning it around. And you don't need to sleep on that because, you know, if you underestimate an attorney because they're not the most famous law firm, you might get surprised. You've also got striking defenses. So in extreme cases, they can strike Destiny's counterclaims. Now, I don't think they'll do that right away, but what could happen is eventually they could say that he's done enough bad things in totality to strike down his defense. Next, there's contempt of court. That's broad power. The court can largely say, hey, you've done something bad. I hold you in contempt. You guys said no about that. You're in contempt, right? That's something that can happen very broadly. You can also have elevated punitive damages. Punitive damages are meant to stop harm to others. So they can look at this and say, look, this is a pattern of behavior with Laguna, with Pixie, with Rose even. And guess what? We're going to offer elevated punitive damages to keep this from happening in the future, right? And then you can have a permanent no contact order for Ms. De Laguna. She could apply with the court for a no contact order. They would probably grant that. They could also be a mandate to delete the related content. So a mandate saying, hey, Destiny, you need to delete this video because you're now hoping, or you're now incentivizing your audience to go after Lauren because you've literally showed an area where she lives, where she works. And now that's created this situation where all it takes is one unhinged DGG member and boom, you've got a problem. You've got a major problem. You've got an IRL altercation. You've got, something that could end up in physical consequences, whatever else for Ms. De Laguna. That's really, really, really bad. So let's delete that. Let's delete that video. Even though the harm's already been done, we can at least delete the video. Okay, so here's Destiny's defenses, right? Here's Destiny's defenses. She approached me. And once again, I'm going to take this very fairly. So Destiny is claiming this recording was in self-protection. So he's saying this to protect myself. Even if that's true, the presumptions are against Destiny because Destiny is a non-Texas resident. He doesn't live in Austin. He had no reason to be there, right? As far as I know, maybe he's allowed to just hang out. That's fine. But he has a large activist community. And part of that is there's a risk there of that. And once again, when somebody is a witness, you can't just treat them like anybody else. You have to treat them very carefully. The other argument I saw is it's a street bro. It's a street bro. And this was very cute. I actually like this one a lot. And yes, if two random people appear on a street, that's one thing. But Lauren is no longer a random person. She is a witness. And witnesses have to be dealt with differently. You can't just have a prolonged encounter where you're mentioning gang stalking, going in on gang stalking, right? And just linger there. Yeah, you really need to remove yourself from that ASAP. But I know Destiny doesn't have the power into him to not just argue and get into it and go back and forth with him. I know he felt the need to do that, but he could have just walked away. And that would have been the real right move. Is, okay, you bumped into her, she approached you, just walk away. Show that he's trying to walk away. But who walked away in that video? Was it Destiny? No, it was Lauren, right? Lauren ran away, actually, at a certain point, right? The last one is, and by the way, in this statement, I want people to be very clear. Witnesses can't be harassed anywhere. Witnesses can't be harassed in the street, in a car, in the hospital, in McDonald's. It doesn't make it okay based on it being a street. There's no exception in the law that says you can't harass witnesses except for in the street, right? The street, it's okay. It's not okay anywhere. And to the extent that they saw this as intimidation or harassment, that would be a problem, right? Also, Lauren is lying. That's one of the defenses from Destiny and other people out there that I've seen that don't like Lauren and just have a personal problem with Lauren. Well, here's the thing. She filed a police report. So she put her money where her mouth is. And if she lied, she will suffer penalties. So if she lied, if Lauren De Laguna is lying, then she's going to end up like Jussie Smollett. And by the way, I'll say this too. If she is lying, then she deserves to be punished. There it is. So if Lauren De Laguna is lying, then she deserves to be punished. Anybody who files a false police report deserves to be punished. However, at this point, I'm presuming it's not false because, once again, of those consequences, and she is a lawyer. She knows there's consequences. She knows that, right? Okay. Let me put this here. Bungo Bush says, I personally think people should stop even talking about Destiny. I think you become irrelevant. He's a piece of crap. I only talk about Destiny when it comes to things that affect the legal case. So I'm not a person who's going to come up here and you see my coverage. I cover many things. I cover it when it becomes a legal issue. If it's not a legal issue, I don't care. And I don't respond to Destiny either. So Destiny can say whatever he wants. He can respond. He can ad hominem people, whatever. I don't respond to that. I just talk about the legal side. Now, if Destiny wants to make a legal argument and he's trying to make a legal argument, he wants to debate the law, that's fine, right? But at the end of the day, I'm covering this based on the fact that it's a legal case of massive interest and of huge precedent for streamers. This case is going to set precedent. It's also going to set precedent for people's behavior. Dr. Checkmate says, I think Destiny, Miskiff, and people of his ilk cannot help themselves because they are caught by their own downward spiral ego. Well, they haven't taken that humble pie and saying, look, as a streamer, you're not God, you're not invincible, you need to stay humble, and you're not perfect. I'm not perfect. No streamer is perfect. Do every legal prediction I make come true? No. Some of them do, right? A lot of them do in some cases. If we talk about Johnny Somali, almost everything's come true there, right? But and like Reedy Creek, Disney, when I covered that, I was spot on that entire way. Point of the matter is that these are still all real issues. And people out there, if you've got a court case, you want to be aware of all this stuff. This is stuff you need to be educated on because this is something that is very real risk in federal court and state court. Toast Burner says, Your Honor, I felt so threatened that I told her I was stalking her and followed her around. See how the judge takes that one. Artemis says, if someone is stationary filming, does that count? Once again, yes. Would it have been worse if he chased her? But if he chased her, yes, that would have been worse. That would have been way worse. Is this the worst case ever? No. Let's be fair to Destiny. Is it the worst case ever? Was he yelling and screaming at her in a way to say, you're not going to testify, you're not going to do this? No, he wasn't. Did he handle it the best way? No, he didn't. And I think even the most fervent simp for Destiny has to admit that he didn't handle it the best way. Was it the worst thing ever? No. No, that's true. I've seen way worse. But could a jury or a judge punish him for it? Absolutely. Absolutely. Would be within the scope of their power. Okay. Conclusion here, because we're gonna keep this kind of pithy today. Destiny keeps digging himself deeper. Destiny is already in trouble without adding on this public incident. Guys, the Rose stuff alone is a nightmare for him. And he is really, really sunk by that. That is something that, once again, he doesn't even have a digital forensics expert right now. He hasn't rebuked that at all. He is in serious trouble if he cannot handle the Rose stuff. Very deep trouble. Separate from the Pixie stuff, right? That's not good, right? And beyond that, the case in the long run still benefits Pixie. The edge is still on her. Can Destiny come out on top? Possible, but it's not looking good, right? And at a minimum, this is going to be investigated by law enforcement. This is going to be investigated by Texas and likely by the DOJ, by the feds, for a multitude of the potential crimes, for sanctions, etc. It's going to be brought up to the court. I guarantee you Pixie's lawyers are going to bring this up. I guarantee you. And Destiny is now going to have to deal with all this additional BS. Why? For what? What did he gain from that? Absolutely nothing. Zero. So that's my take on this, guys. Thank you for being here. I'm going to be back with some other topics later. There will be a fast facts on this. I'm going to get it edited. My editor's been doing a fantastic job. But until then, until next time, guys, stay based and don't be coping and seething like Destiny will be after he watches this video.
You are coping and seething. You just can't believe what you're seeing. It's you coping and seething. The truth it is all day, and now you are more.